Okay, let me move on to the artificial intelligence revolution and the data center boom, which is on a lot of your minds, I'm sure. So we're now in the midst of the artificial intelligence revolution, and it is driving financial markets and the power grid. November 2022, OpenAI released ChatGPT, which showed that AI models had mastered the intricacies of human speech. And now AI models can do prose and poetry and images and videos, solve problems. They score better than humans on the bar exam. One model recently scored 100% on the U.S. medical exam. NVIDIA became the most valuable company in the world, going up 16 times in 4 years. NVIDIA sells the graphics processing units that go into data centers to run AI systems. And now the big tech companies, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta, Oracle, are spending over $750 billion this year on AI hardware and data centers. And folks, that is expected to be $1 trillion next year. So to give you a comparison, all of the grade school education and high school education in the United States, total spending for that is about $900 billion a year. So they're spending as much on these data centers as all of our education below the college level, just big numbers. Start of 2024, we had 2,700 data centers in the United States. That's now up to 4,300 in just a little over a year and a half. Michigan went from about 50 data, by the way, this data is from USA Data Centers. There are a lot of different estimates depending on who you use, but I use them. Michigan had about 50 data centers back at the start of 2024, up to 75 now, but other places are building a lot more. Indiana has built 83 new data centers in the last 2 years. Iowa has built 84. Iowa has built 73 new ones. Texas has built over 200 new data centers. Now, originally, data centers would run the internet and provide cloud storage. But now, more and more, they're being upgraded with NVIDIA graphics card units and other ones to run artificial intelligence. And when you do that, these servers consume 6 to 10 times more power than they used to consume. So it's estimated that data centers at the start of 2024 used about 4% of U.S. electricity. It's expected they're going to use 20% of U.S. electricity by 2035. Just a massive rise. And so we need power plants everywhere. That's really the issue. For 2 decades, our grid operators were concerned about how much wind and solar they could put on the grid and how many coal plants they could close. We closed hundreds of coal plants. Now they're looking at what they can do. We're restarting nuclear plants, like your Palisades plant here in Michigan, in Iowa, in Pennsylvania, and South Carolina. We're extending coal plants. I should have Michigan up here as well. In Georgia, Indiana, Illinois, Tennessee, Utah, and West Virginia, past their date that was scheduled for closing. But the big winner is natural gas. We have more than 200 natural gas plants, new plants, in planning or under construction around the country. Can't wind and solar power data centers? These are quotes from Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, the biggest investment company in the world. Back in 2021, he was urging all of his clients to be net zero by 2050. Net zero demands a transformation of the entire economy. But just 3 years later, he said, quote, "You can't rely solely on intermittent sources like wind and solar. You need dispatchable power because these data centers cannot simply turn on and off." So really a big change. Another factor is the speed at which all these groups are trying to put these data centers in. They want to do this in 2 or 3 years. And you can't wait for nuclear when you do that. And even wind and solar you got to get all this transmission to do that. So they're trying to all build their own gas-fired power plants. Here's an example of how you shouldn't do it. Tesla near Memphis and in northern Mississippi. Elon Musk, like everything else he did in a hurry. He built his Colossus AI in 6 months. With 200,000 NVIDIA graphics processing units, he built these huge data centers. But Tesla is a solar and a battery company, right? But he didn't use solar or battery to do this. He went out and got 35 gas turbines. Now, the problem with what he did was, and by the way, he didn't have the permits for any of this. He was sued by a whole bunch of environmental groups because he didn't have the permits yet, and he put this in. The problem with the gas turbines he got is that they were portable disaster turbines, used to when you have a disaster, and they bring, and these things sounded like jet engines. So everybody in Tennessee and northern Mississippi is really unhappy with this. So one of the things that you want to look for is make sure your data centers aren't putting in, you got to know what turbines they're putting in. Jet engine turbines, or rather portable turbines, are not a good thing. So another question for you today. This is a tough one. Why does the Elwood gas power plant in Illinois moving from Illinois to Texas?
Finances.
Well, in part, first is the state is saying after 2030 you can't operate this anymore. And they say, well, why should we wait till 2030? The second thing is that it takes 5 years to get gas turbines. And Texas is building over 100 gas plants, 140 to be. So they're going to put these things on flatbed trucks and haul them down to Texas, which is going to be another reason that Illinois is going to be short. If Michigan follows the same thing, saying you got to get rid of your gas plants, they better have something to back them up, or you're going to end up with a shortage of power here. So we have skyrocketing natural gas in Texas, 140 gas power plants in building or planning, 58 gigawatts of capacity. That's more than California uses in the summer, and that's going to be 3 times the amount of all the wind turbines that were built in Texas over the last 20 years. Texas is the biggest wind state in the country as well. And some of these things are just huge. Meta is building its Hyperion system in northeast Louisiana. It covers an area of 70 football fields. It's going to be multiple buildings. And when it's completed, by the way, the utility is building 3 on-site gas power plants for this. And that's the latest thing. It's called BYOP, bring your own power. Rather than relying on the grid, you want to try and build your own plant. And this is going to use twice as much power as the city of New Orleans when they finish this thing. So let me talk a little more about the power consumption issues. So large data centers can have city-size electrical consumption, and the demand could raise electricity prices. Small ones, not so much. A PJM interconnect is now requiring big data centers to build their own power plants, and your local community and your state should be doing the same thing. The data center people have to be open with you, transparent on what they're doing, where they're going to get their power from. Otherwise, you probably don't want them to build. By the way, these things are like big warehouses. I wouldn't want one next to my house. I wouldn't want a big warehouse next to my house either. But they're probably places where we can build them. But the key here is, and by the way, this is a picture of Texas. There's a data center over there, and these are all new gas plants that they're building right on site. Now, President Trump has also had Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, OpenAI, and Oracle come into the White House and sign a pledge that they were going to build their own power plants or pay for all the electricity that they were using. Quote, under this new agreement, big tech companies are committing to fully cover the increased cost of electricity production for data centers. And that's the way it should be. So whoever you're working with on the data center side, they need to be transparent on what they're going to do. Otherwise, I would be trying to block it. Water usage issues. There's a lot of this in the press, and most of it is not correct. Now, data centers couldn't use a lot of water. If you have evaporative cooling, and you're just bringing water in out of the system and cooling the boards and servers, letting it evaporate, you use loads of water. That's a bad system. You need to know that they're not doing that when they're putting one in. But other cooling systems use less water. I was in a small data center near Houston a couple months back. They didn't use any water at all. They did all air cooling. The biggest thing, though, is to recycle water for a large data center. So it evaporates. It's in a closed system. It comes and it condenses, and then it's run through again. And when you do that, you don't use much water. And then the fourth method for really big data centers, they're doing some work now with non-conducting fluids that they put cool the boards and servers with, and they aren't using any water at all. Google recently built a water plant east of Atlanta for purifying and recycling wastewater, both for the community and for their data center. So states and counties should look to sensible regulations on these things, but not bans, in my opinion. But you need to know what is going into place and that it's not impacting the local people.